BoxingPedia log, Fantasy What If number 10. Who was the best heavyweight champion? Who was the best at their best? It's been 3 years since the last tournament I held between the 70s and the 90s heavyweights. I asked you in that video who is the best heavyweight boxer. I jumped the gun. This is where we'll seek to answer that question. We're taking the best heavyweight, or plural, from their eras and pitting them against each other. The roster is as follows: Jack Johnson from the 1900s and 1910s, Jack Dempsey from the 1920s, Joe Louis from the 1930s and 40s, Rocky Marciano from the 50s, Sonny Liston and Muhammad Ali from the 60s, Joe Frazier and George Foreman from the 1970s, Larry Holmes and Mike Tyson from the 80s, Evander Holyfield, Riddick Bowe, and Lennox Lewis from the 90s, Vladimir and Vitaly Klitschko from the 2000s, and Tyson Fury from the 2010s. We will seed these greats by their championship accomplishments only. From top to bottom they are: Joe Louis, 25 consecutive title defenses over a 12-year reign against solid competition. Enough said. Muhammad Ali, 2 separate solid reigns against arguably the best competition ever, with a total of 19 title defenses. He's also the first 3-time champion. Larry Holmes, 20 consecutive title defenses over 7 years against decent competition. And yes, the lineal defense against Marvis Frazier counts, so it's not just 19. Lennox Lewis beat every man he faced and reunified the division across 3 reigns, 14 total title defenses against arguably the most competitive division. Vladimir Klitschko, the super champion of 9 years with a career total of 23 title defenses, 18 consecutive. Mike Tyson, the youngest champion ever who reunified the division 1 title at a time, 10 title defenses, 9 of which were consecutive. Joe Frazier, 9 title defenses and the winner of the arguable most important fight in heavyweight history against Muhammad Ali. Also reunified the Division 1 title at a time and in a tough era. Rocky Marciano, the undefeated beacon with 6 title defenses against the best of his day. How he won those fights makes him a prime time threat. Vitaly Klitschko, 12 title defenses, 9 consecutive across 3 reigns. Injuries halted his first 2 reigns, and he retired as champion the 3rd time around. Evander Holyfield, 6 title defenses across 4 reigns in the arguable best era. His work outside of the title picture may be even more impressive. George Foreman, 5 title defenses across the 2 most competitive eras and the oldest champion ever. How he beat Joe Frazier and Michael Moorer across 20 years to become champion are 2 separate legacy-defining moments. Sonny Liston, 1 title defense in which he eviscerated Floyd Patterson again. Sonny is the anomaly here because I'm going to grant him the benefit of his top 10 crusade toward his reign. The reason being that the Patterson camp ducked him to no end and denied him of the years he could have also been champion, those being 1958 to 1964. The fighters he crushed in the top 10 would perhaps be talked about as title defenses rather than contender ranking jumps. Tyson Fury, 10 title defenses on the back of his being the lineal champion across 2 alphabet reigns. He is the second man to have held all 4 alphabet titles at one point or another, and the man who dethroned super champion Vladimir Klitschko and Deontay Wilder. His size and style make him a threat in any era. Riddick Bowe, 3 title defenses across 2 reigns, with his win over Holyfield solidifying him in the books. He should have been much more, but is still great. The first man ever to hold all 4 alphabet titles at one point or another. Jack Dempsey, 5 title defenses after a legacy-defining demolition job over the giant Jess Willard. Wildly popular and a threat to any man, thanks to his power and aggression. Jack Johnson, the first black heavyweight champion, 8 title defenses and 12 others with the color championship. His legacy is marred by upholding the color bar. Alexander Usyk, the current undisputed champion, was close to making it in, but I'd like to see his complete reign and legacy first. That, and we would have an uneven number of competitors. As of now, he has 3 excellent title defenses, and his rematch with Tyson Fury will be very telling toward where he'll stand in history. He is the Giant Slayer and King of the Ring today. Maybe next tournament video, champ. Conventional tournament. Top seeds face the corresponding lower seed. So 1v16, 2v15, 3v14, etc. Place your bets in the comments now on who you think is coming out on top before you see the results. Alright, off to round 1. Up first, the battle of the 2 very first black heavyweight world champions. Joe Louis versus Jack Johnson sees the Brown Bomber look to tame the savage, unconventional style of the Galveston Giant. To his surprise, however, Johnson starts slow and circles Louis looking for counterpunches. In the clinch, Johnson makes a habit of dealing damage that could accumulate over time if Louis isn't careful. Louis ups his own aggression and employs his technical brilliance in denying the jab while establishing his own by extending his rear hand with his jabs. It works wonders and throws Johnson off. Louis baits Johnson into the clinch, knowing Jack will look to deal damage inside, and unleashes his trademark compact combinations inside right to the chin. Johnson crashes down and doesn't beat the count. Joe Louis is moving on to face the winner of our next fight. Vladimir Klitschko versus Sonny Liston. Klitschko, the master of the jab and hold, finds himself in rare waters as he's facing a man 5 inches shorter, but with a 3-inch reach advantage. Such was anyone's dilemma when facing the reach of Charles Sonny Liston. Vlad comes out patient, looking to counter and dictate the pace. Sonny gladly takes the bait, looking to force his jab into Vlad's face. It works, as Vlad struggles to get close enough to do any countering. Vlad also struggles to see as Liston keeps his giant fist extended and in Klitschko's line of sight. Then, the payoff for the setup comes, in a monster Liston right hand. Vlad is stunned and tastes the canvas. He rises on Dream Street. Liston swarms as he did past victims such as Cleveland Williams and drops Vlad again. The bout is stopped with a spaghetti-leg Klitschko and no further condition to go on. He had the heart, but his body wouldn't let him continue. Vlad wishes he'd been more aggressive, as opposed to defensive. Liston will face Joe Louis in the next round. Larry Holmes versus Riddick Bowe. Both men are wary of one another's jabs, perhaps Bowe a bit more than Larry. Remember, they have the same 81-inch reach. The two meet centering, looking to establish range, and both land their jabs, snapping the other man's head back. Larry turns it up and starts dancing, looking to stick and move. It works, but he can't keep it up. When Holmes becomes flat-footed, Riddick moves in and forces the infighting. This is where he evens the score. Larry digs deep and carefully trades with Bowe in the same manner he once did against Ken Norton. Bowe embraces, holding his own as he once did against Evander Holyfield. Neither man will budge. Then Bowe lashes out with his signature overhand right, a weakness of Larry's, and drops the Eastern Assassin. Using his amazing power of recovery, Larry rises and shows tremendous heart. He eventually counters an overhand right with a good left hook that drops Bowe. Riddick rises quick. From here, Larry paws his jab and unleashes his own signature right crosses that dent Bowe's chin, but Big Daddy won't fall. When the dust settles, Larry Holmes edges out a decision over Big Daddy Bowe. Mike Tyson versus George Foreman is a stylistic matchup for Iron Mike, even in his prime. Initially, Mike's speed and head movement proved problematic for George as Mike dishes the punishment out. George eats the blows and is stunned here and there, but ultimately survives. As Tyson reels back so as to not gas himself, George walks him back behind a stiff jab. Foreman dictates the motion of action by moving Mike where he wants him and lashing out with wide hooks to the body. Mike wears down and is ultimately caught by an uppercut that drops him. Mike rises on Dream Street and eats a terrible beating before being dropped again, and he fails to beat the count. George Foreman is moving on to face Larry Holmes. Lennox Lewis and Tyson Fury, two giants of English heavyweight history and lore. Lewis, at 6'5", 245 pounds with an 84-inch reach, is more than a match for the usual advantage Fury has at 6'9", 280 pounds with an 85-inch reach. Lewis starts cautious as he establishes the tempo and range while checking with his jab. Fury is slippery and fidgety as usual, sneaking in some jabs that look to piss off Lewis. Then, after observing and measuring, Lewis catches Fury with a monster right as the Gypsy King comes in, and it unbalances Fury. Lewis looks to follow up on Fury as the hurt man gets on his bike and stays away, eventually recovering. Now Fury looks to walk Lennox down as he once did Deontay Wilder, and he sees limited success. In clinches, Fury tries to lean on Lewis to wear him down, but finds his man is not only capable of handling his weight, but fluent in counter-leaning right back on Fury to similarly wear him down. Lewis dares to stand his ground rather than continue falling. It is here where Lewis lashes out with a vicious left jab cross hybrid, right cross combo, similar to the one he landed on Hasim Rahman, that drops Fury. Fury rises from the dead with his amazing powers of recovery, but Lewis swarms as he once did Andrew Golota, and Fury is stopped on his feet. Lennox Lewis is moving on. Joe Frazier versus Evander Holyfield. A clash of two warriors who embody toughness and will. This is a rematch from What If Episode 1, and not the first if my memory serves. Smokin' Joe starts slow as usual as Holyfield piles on the points and becomes more aggressive as the rounds go on. That's not something Frazier's used to. Frazier responds, going to the body and catching the head off guard, but unlike any of his past opponents, Holyfield appears to get angry and hits Joe back 3 or 4 times for each hit he takes. It flabbergasts Joe. He responds in kind by continuing to hit his man, and brawls break out to the delight of fight fans. Holyfield, as he once did Mike Tyson, begins bullying Frazier by shoving him around the ring and denying any clinches. Frazier's unmatched stamina allows him to take being leaned on and moved, and the stalemate continues. Holyfield tires near the end and starts eating bombs from Frazier, akin to the ones Frazier had landed once on Muhammad Ali. Evander won't fall and fights back when he can. Then, in a burst of energy, Holyfield starts wailing on Frazier. But Joe won't fall either. He goes to the cards, where Evander edges out a split decision over Frazier. It could have went either way. The real deal will face the Lion in the next round. Rocky Marciano versus Vitaly Klitschko. Klitschko is almost a foot taller than The Rock and has a monstrous reach advantage. Off the bat, Rocky struggles to penetrate the jab in defense of the bigger man as he falls behind on the cards. Then he starts barreling in and smothering Vitaly where he gets some offense in, but remember that Vitaly has a great chin and heart. As Klitschko eats the damage and returns fire, both men suffer bad cuts similar to their careers in reality. With both men in danger of being stopped, the gloves are off. Vitaly knows Marciano won't tire and goes for the kill, but he can't keep the Brockton blockbuster down. Then, the Susie Q lands, and Klitschko's legs wobble. But he doesn't fall either. Vitaly wails away at Marciano without any response for a bit, and the fight is stopped. Vitaly Klitschko is moving on and has defeated the only unbeaten heavyweight champion in history. Muhammad Ali versus Jack Dempsey. Immediately, the speed and foot movement of Ali present great difficulty for the Manasseh Mauler. He can't touch the Louisville lip, and it's looking like he's about to suffer another loss akin to the one he did against Gene Tunney. Then Dempsey drops Ali with a left hook, Ali's weakness. He refuses to go to his corner and hovers over Ali, causing a long count and time to recover. Ali does recover and gets very serious as he lashes away at Dempsey in the same way he did Henry Cooper. Dempsey is unable to defend himself from the onslaught and is stopped. Muhammad Ali is moving on to face Vitaly Klitschko. And our tournament is off to round 2. Up first is Joe Louis versus Sonny Liston, a fantasy matchup for the ages. Back in What If episode number 9, I had old Louis losing to a peak Liston. Now they're both at their best. Both men are masters of controlling a fight through the use of their jab. Whereas Louis jabs with his rear hand also extended to deflect, Liston uses his lead to consistently blind and maneuver his opponent. Liston's extreme reach advantage nets him the early advantage as he slashes away at medium range. Joe adapts quickly by utilizing his superior speed and times his jab just as Liston finishes his own jab, while the Big Bear is still leaned forward, inward. Liston counters this by keeping his jab extended to blind and check Louis, but the Brown Bomber slips to adapt. It's a chess match, people. Louis forces the action on the inside, now confident in his ability to penetrate Liston's pawing. This is where all hell breaks loose, as Louis discovers Sonny has power superior to his own, and he goes down. Louis answers, and as Liston swarms for the kill, Louis launches a lightning-quick compact combo that dents Liston's jaw and sends him down. Think of the combo Louis dropped Jersey Joe Walcott with in their rematch. Liston answers and finds himself on the back foot for the first time in his career as Louis chips away at him. This culminates in Joe catching Sonny with a monster right hand that puts the Big Bear to sleep, straight to hibernation. It was similar to the knockout Liston suffered at the hands of Leotis Martin. On goes Louis in the tournament. Larry Holmes versus George Foreman is a fight we probably should have witnessed in reality, but circumstance didn't allow it. Larry comes out landing his jab at will, but Foreman stalks ever forward. Holmes starts stitching together combos with his jab to earn George's respect, but to no avail as George continues, cutting the ring off. Larry suffers Foreman's wrath with some vicious body blows, but makes sure to sting back and counter. George, sensing his energy being siphoned akin to the rumble in the jungle, backs off and picks his shots. Larry's jab loses effectiveness as Foreman employs the crab guard. With George more methodical, Larry jumps back on his bike and starts dancing to pile up the points. When George cuts him off, Larry eats some punishment but looks to counter. It is during this that George unveils his possum play and lands a vicious 1-2 that clips Larry's chin and drops him. Think of the one Foreman landed on Michael Moorer. Showing his amazing powers of recovery yet again, Larry answers and stays on the move. After recovering, he outboxes George all the way to the final bell for the decision victory and is moving on to face Joe Louis. Lennox Lewis versus Evander Holyfield is a fight that happened in reality, twice even. Lewis won the rematch, but many claim the real deal wasn't the same fighter he was in the early 90s against Riddick Bowe or even the mid-90s against Mike Tyson. The fight opens with an aggressive Holyfield looking to dent Lewis's chin. He meets the end of Lewis's jab as a result almost every time, but stays on the hunt. Some ventures inside net solid offense for Holyfield, and Lewis adapts by tying his man up and leaning on him to wear him down. Lewis utilizes his jab effectively, but Evander begins checking it with his rear hand. Evander becomes too eager and tastes Lewis's devastating right hand while lunging in. He's stunned, but won't go down, just like against Riddick Bowe in 1992. Holyfield rebounds to stun Lewis, who is saved by the bell. Now Lewis turns up his own aggression, akin to how he did against Ray Mercer, and starts winning exchanges with Holyfield at range and on the inside, making sure to tie up and wear down Evander as the fight goes on. It goes the distance, and Lewis wins an impressive decision. Closing out the second round is Muhammad Ali versus Vitaly Klitschko. Dr. Iron Fist has the size and power advantages, but he is vastly outmatched in the speed and athleticism departments. This proves an early problem, as Ali sticks and moves at will, akin to a showcase against Ernie Terrell. Vitaly, unfazed by Ali's punching or braggadocious nature, starts feinting inward and timing his superior jab reach to catch Ali. Klitschko has done his homework, as Ken Norton once did, and knows Ali's pectoral muscle twitches before a jab. Still, Ali outscores Vitaly on punch value. Then Klitschko lands a bomb that rocks Ali, but the greatest recomposes himself. It's unfair that a man so gifted and athletic should also have an all-time chin and heart, but this is Vitaly's reality, or rather nightmare. Klitschko looks to lean on and wear down and clinches, but Ali's supreme stamina and conditioning render it useless. Ali outpoints Klitschko for the decision, surviving some bombs along the way, securing his match against Lennox Lewis. And we're off to round 3. Joe Louis meets Larry Holmes in a battle of the super champions of long reigns. Larry's jab, as with Liston's before, proves problematic for Joe, but he adapts in kind by forcing his way in through doubling and tripling his own jabs inside. When Larry throws the crosses to counter, Joe ducks out of the fire. Larry starts going to the body to force Louis out of his comfort zone, and Louis responds with his own body shots. It's here that Larry unleashes with quick combos up top as Louis gets drawn into the body battle. Larry does this at medium range, making sure to avoid Lewis's advantage on the inside. As the fight goes on, Louis grows desperate for that one big punch, and he starts getting sloppy, eating Larry's offense. In the final round, Larry gets too complacent himself, and Joe lands a monster overhand right that drops Larry. He answers and survives the round for the decision victory. The Eastern Assassin is headed to the finals. Muhammad Ali versus Lennox Lewis is another rematch from What If Episode 1. In that fantasy, it was the finale of the 70s versus 90s tournament. This time around, Ali comes out looking to blitz Lennox, and he finds great success doing so as Lewis struggles in his timing to counterpunch. As Ali naturally slows, Lewis finds success with his jab and sets up some solid combos that rock Ali. Ali's chin, however, keeps him in the fight enough for him to get his second wind. Lewis similarly utilizes the pectoral twitch to continue effectively jabbing with Ali and scores a monster left-right cross combo that almost drops Ali. Lewis is unable to follow up and finish his man. Ali recovers between rounds and gets back to stinging and moving. Now Lewis is wearing down from both exhaustion and the cumulative damage. Ali's combos are more effective, and Lewis loses his balance as he stumbles around the ring. Ali drops him, and Lewis struggles to rise. He fails to beat the count, and Muhammad Ali is headed to the finals to face his protege for all the marbles. Who is the greatest heavyweight champion of all time? Muhammad Ali versus Larry Holmes. A fight we got in reality, but to the shame of the sport. Now they're both at their best, and the title of greatest heavyweight champion ever is on the line. The two explode out of their corners in a dance-off, trading jabs. Initially, Muhammad's speed nets him the advantage, but Larry begins to overtake him on reach and by cornering Ali for combos. Ali ties him up and gets out to return to the center of the ring. Larry makes it a point to jab with Ali and sees success, also taking advantage of the pectoral twitch. Ali starts feinting to open up counter opportunities for his right and tags Larry's chin. Holmes responds by baiting Ali into counters for his own left hook. The two clearly know one another very well. Ali appears to tire and starts covering up to absorb Larry's combos to the body and head. Larry senses the rope-a-dope and begins picking his shots. This is where Ali surprises him with flurries that bamboozle Larry and have him off balance. Larry almost goes down but recomposes himself and lashes back. Ali has caught his second wind and dishes lightning-quick combos to swell Holmes' eyes. Larry catches his own second wind but has fallen too far on the cards as Ali masterfully dodges Larry's offense as only he can with his distinct head movement. Muhammad Ali wins the decision and is hailed as the greatest heavyweight champion of all time. And that's it. Was anyone missing from the tournament? Should someone have been excluded? Who was in the tournament? Who do you believe is the greatest heavyweight champion of all time, past or present? Regardless of who you believe would win in a hypothetical tournament. I think Joe Louis still has a solid claim to being the greatest champion ever, despite his exit against the Eastern Assassin. Similarly, I have Ali, Holmes, and Louis as my personal heavyweight trinity. I'd take any of those three to beat any other heavyweights across history, past or present, and that includes them defeating one another. If you enjoyed, press the like button and subscribe. Ring the bell so you don't miss my uploads. Consider joining for perks like early access, or if you'd just like to support BoxingPedia. This has been the Charles Jackson, author of the Boxing Encyclopedia, and I'll see you in my next vlog. Thank you, and stay frosty.